guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. Today is September 11th. And at the end of that game last night, Skenes Day felt like it was the day before. It felt like forever. Again, the Bucs lose in a one-run game. Makes you wonder how this offense can possibly get any better at all. Good morning.
Yeah, it is a good morning there, little man.
Or good afternoon or evening if you're listening after the game today. Because there's a day game today at 1 o'clock against the Orioles. Get to watch it while you're working if you're able to do that sort of thing. I know I will be. So anyway, they lose the series already. Not a good start to the last little stretch of games here. But they're one-run games, and the offense is just absolutely cold on the road, and they have been all year. You know, I watched a lot of this game on my phone tonight, and I just feel like when you're, you know, at B-dubs, and then you're running around, picking up the kids, and then getting home and putting them to bed with it on your phone. I came down here and I sat down at my desk, and they were just then getting to tie the game, and it's the 9th, and we're going to extras. And I was like, I'm just keeping it on my phone. I'm not even putting this on the TV, because you had a sense you knew exactly what was going to happen at that point. And then one day, after talking Kyle Nicholas up on here, he goes out there and just can't throw a strike. A bunt for a base hit, that's just the way that it goes a lot of times for teams like this. And here's the thing, like, you could say, oh, it's just unlucky. I mean, that bunt could have went towards the pitcher. We could have gotten out. We could have maybe got the strikeout and then moved to the next thing and yada, yada, yada. But the thing is like, good things like that don't happen to teams that only score one run. It just doesn't matter. When you're going to score one run, you're setting yourself up to lose. And you can't sit here and try to depend on chance things like that, like luck, like a bunt being good, or nobody can bunt. The guy had one bunt and he got a bunt down. One sack bunt in his old professional career, and he got a bunt down. But the thing is, like I said, that's not because it's unlucky. That's because you put yourself in a position where you only scored one run in a game. All right, let's talk Paul Skenes, because there's good things there. And we're going to keep it positive as much as we can. And then I've got something a little different to talk about today, so we want to get through all this stuff. Skenes goes 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 8 strikeouts. He only threw 64 pitches in this game. 43 of them were strikes. Shutting him down after 5 innings. ERA now at 192. Listen, guys, the Cy Young is his. All he has to do is be okay the rest of the way out. I barring a huge collapse and somebody else doing something incredible, like I just don't see this being a thing that gets taken away from him. I in the moment, like, I would have liked to see him go one more inning. I know that if you're listening to this, you probably wanted to see him go one more inning. At least you understand, you know what the deal is. You know they're going to try to limit him. You know they're going to try to take it easy. They're trying to do this thing where they're managing a load. And I started to think about this and started to think about, okay, well, what for? How many starts does this guy have left? And when I really counted it out, if you put 4 games in between, he'll have 3 starts. He's now thrown 178 innings this season. Last season, he threw 160 and a third. And that's 133 in the show and the 27 innings in the minors. So 160. Getting him to like 190 makes sense. And if he has 3 more starts on the season, he's going to get there, right? If you count him out, he's got one Monday, Roberto Clemente Day against the Cubs. I would see him starting that. And then one, that's the first home game of the last homestand, and then the last home game of that stand, obviously 2-3 game series against the A's, fan appreciation weekend, the whole 9 yards. He'll pitch the last home game of the year, and then one more against the Braves in Atlanta. They've got 6 games left after that game, so he'll throw one more. So with three starts left, thinking about maybe getting him in that 190 range. Maybe they decided just to cut this one short because there's no day off between this one and Monday against the Cubs, and they'd like to see him go deeper in the 2 home starts. If you're going to let him go deep, when I started looking at this, I said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. Let him go deep against the Cubs and the A's. Obviously that's if he is pitching well enough to go deep against the Cubs and the A's. And then what he does in those 2 starts will dictate what he does in Atlanta. Maybe he only goes 3 innings there. Maybe I think he still falls short of 200. I know he wanted to go 200 innings. I think there's a chance he falls short. Or if he says, I really want 200 innings, then maybe they do go out and say, all right, he's at 178 now. You know what I'm saying? All he has to do, let me see. It's just not going to happen. That's averaging 7 1/3 each game. Like he's not getting to 200. He would have had to have gone 7 this game just to make that kind of more of a reality. And he was set up to go 7, but obviously not going to let him get there. So either way, the Bucks had a 1-0 lead when he exited, and that lasted till the 9th inning. It could have actually lasted. They could have got away with it. They didn't. Losing in extra innings, it is what it is. But I think either way, I think the Cy Young is his. He's going to be in the 190s in innings. He's going to be in the top 3 National League pitchers with innings, and then the rest of the ERA, the WHIP, everything else is going to belong to him. So it's not something that you're overly concerned with. The WHIP is now down to 0.92 on the season. It's just phenomenal. He gave up 10 home runs last year. He's only given up 10 this year in 45 more innings. It's just ridiculous what he's done. And he's only walked 7 more guys and struck out over 200. I guess that is it. 200 strikeouts for Skenes in this game. I mean, that's a big deal. But if you just thought he's not going to, sophomore year maybe isn't going to be there. I mean, every stat across the board at this point, 0.95 WHIP last year, 0.92 this year, 198 average against, 193, 170 strikeouts to 203. That's because the innings were higher and the starts were higher and all the things. But it just seems like in almost every way, this guy has turned in even a better year than he did last year. Even going down the pitches per inning was 15.98 last year, and it's 15.84 this year. Strike percentage is down a little bit. He can fix that still because it's pretty close. But anyway, it's crazy. This guy's unbelievable, and it's a pleasure to get to watch him. I guess that's what you can say. Listen, I was watching a game a little bit earlier today, and I thought through something else, and I'd like to share that today. We can talk a little off-season trades here. I've made it known that Boston is the team I'd prefer to deal with, and recently they've had 2 lefties come up, Early and Tolley. Coming up, they're getting some hype, and I can't help but wonder, how does that change the possibility of getting a pitcher there for one of these outfield positions? We just watched a game where they can't, just a solo home run changes the whole game. Peyton Tolley's first start, I believe I'm saying that right, caused some buzz, but his latest 2 might bring a little more perspective. But his first outing, he went 5 1/3, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. The next outing was just 3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, gave up 2 homers, walked 4 and only struck out 2. And then a game today, he just went the first 2 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 strikeouts. That's not, it's a 7.84 ERA in 10 1/3 innings. But in the minor leagues, he had pitched 91 2/3 innings to a 3.44 ERA and a 0.993 WHIP. So this is a guy that they really like. Connolly Early is the other guy they called up. His first outing and only outing so far, 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs, just 1 walk and 11 strikeouts. In the minors this year, 100 and a third innings, 2.60 ERA, 1.11 whip, and 11.8 strikeouts per 9 in the minor leagues. Now, obviously, those are minor league numbers, but you have to look at something, and that's where he's pitched, and that's what he's done. And they still have Garrett Crochet. They have Lucas Giolito. They have Brian Bayo. Cutter Crawford, wrist injury, but that's a guy who's been good in the majors, and, I mean, mixed bag, but he's there. You got Conley early, Peyton Tolley that we just talked about. Cooper Criswell, 7 games. He had 1 start, 3.57 ERA in 17 innings, but a 3.70 ERA in AAA in 65 innings or in the minor leagues. Chris Murphy's pitched in 17 games, hasn't started any, but he's got a 2.81 ERA in 25 innings. Coming back from injury, he only pitched 27 innings in the minors to a 2.93 ERA, but he's still another guy that they can consider. So with that said, like, how much does a team like this really need a Mitch Keller? And they certainly don't need a Bubba Chandler or one of these young guys that's maybe up and coming, because they seem to have that spot. If you have Crochet and Giolito at the top and Brian Bayo, really just need 2 of those guys to work out. Not super deep, but like, I guess you could say like they could be super aggressive. If they're willing to part with Abreu for Keller, they'll set themselves up for a seriously good rotation and have depth. Then again, you talk about depth. Casas, Grissom, Meyer, Abreu, and Anthony are all on the IL right now. Abreu and Anthony on the 10-day, but the other 3 are on the 60-day. So they know about needing depth on offense too. Christian Campbell, Justinson Garcia, password, are both in AAA right now. Both of those guys have been in the majors this season, and both of those guys are highly touted. Garcia was just there for 5 games. Went 1 for 7 with 5 strikeouts and a double. But Campbell hit 223, 319 on base, and an 85 OPS plus in his 67 games and was sent back down. You could look back at the outfielders, Cedon Rafaela might be one of the best center fielders in the game right now. He has a 90 OPS plus so far this season. Now, if you look at Abreu and you look at Roman Anthony, probably, and you got obviously Jarren Duran, but a 121 OPS plus for Abreu, Anthony 138. Both those guys injured right now. Rafaela does have 16 home runs, though. And because of that defense, Baseball Reference has his WAR at a 3.8. Fangraphs a 2.8. Duran's 3.4, Abreu's 2.6, and Anthony's 2.7 all F-WAR is what they want in the outfield, or go for that defense. You go with that 2.8, you know what I'm saying? He's been there a little bit longer than Abreu just because of the stint on the IL, so he can count that up. And obviously his defense covers for a lot of that. Abreu got a Gold Glove. It's not like his defense is not also very good. If you compare the Baseball Reference WARs, they're Anthony and Abreu are both at a 3.1. Duran's at a 4.2. Baseball Reference WAR, just to throw this out there, is more about what you've done. And F-WAR, Fangraphs WAR, is more about projecting forward. I always think of those two that way. WAR is not perfect no matter who you look at. But if you're going to look at the two numbers and decide, okay, I know a lot of people will just say, well, I don't trust Baseball Reference WAR, it's always high. Well, I think the defense weighs into the Baseball Reference WAR a little bit more, so you could get some numbers. But if you want to look at who had the better season, you should look at Baseball Reference WAR, because it does better calculate. The way that they put their algorithm together is intended to say, what have they done, right? Baseball Reference is a little more historical, where Fangraphs is a little more projections and things like that. So they love putting those projection numbers into their WAR calculations. And so if you're looking to sign a free agent, you look at F-WAR. If you're looking to see what somebody did and who had a better season, you should probably look at B-WAR. That's the way that they're carved out. That's the intent of how they have built their statistic. Okay. That's intentional by each of them. So that's why I trust it that way. they're all good at defense. Cedans is above the rest, Rafaela. So to be honest, if I had my pick, it would be between Abreu and Rafaela because the great defense from both. Anthony's more untouchable and Duran has less control. So I think that when I look at him, that's the way I see it. The power favors Abreu, and he has the Gold Glove already. So it's not like you're getting bad. You're looking for a corner right now unless you really don't believe in anything that O'Neal Cruz is doing. You trade him away, it's 40 homers. I'll tell you that much. The key to the Red Sox being okay with dealing one of those guys might be the password, Skenes Garcia, he's had just a cup of coffee in the show, like I said, but he's hit 20 home runs in the minors this season with an 820 OPS and an 848 OPS in AAA with 17 home runs there. So it's not like it was weighted more by AA and then moved up. Like he's been better in AAA. 339 on base and a 275 average at that. I mean, the guy hits, looks to be the real deal. If they can trust he can be there to start in case of an injury, then they should feel fine to move on from one of the other guys to bolster that rotation. They could also add depth in free agency too. Someone like Pham, not saying Pham, just saying somebody like Pham, who would be a fourth or a fifth outfielder on a roster like this, could be an asset to a team like that. Like I said, just someone like him, just trying to keep it to somebody that you guys are familiar with. There's kind of a lot of nuance in these situations. And that's why I even bring it up. There's also a chance they don't have to acquire a Mitch Keller at all and would just be willing to grab prospects from the Pirates, someone a little further off, and then go after a free agent starter because they can do that in Boston. The door's not closed. I still like Boston as a trade partner in the offseason. If it's power you want, Garcia has almost hit the same number of home runs in 100 less games than Abreu or Rafaela. I was surprised to see that in the minors, the power numbers for Abreu and Rafaela, you would consider Abreu to be the more power choice, but both of them had, I think, Rafaela 60 homers and Abreu 61 in like 10 more games. So they're really close to each other as far as what they've done in the power department. Rafaela doesn't look the part as much, but it seems like he is going to provide or could provide as much power as Abreu. Now, he debuted about a year younger than Abreu, so he's a little bit ahead there. But either way, the Red Sox are around 3 games back in the division right now and currently hold a wild card spot. I think I have this page open right now to see if there's anything updated. They are still 3 games up. It looks like, I mean, they lost today, but it looks like the way they're flip-flopping, it doesn't seem, they're still playing. Some of the guys are still playing. And that's the wild card. 3 games up in the wild card. So in the division, let's see here, regular season. In the division, they are now still just 3 games back because all 3 teams, the Blue Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox, all lost today. Anyway, if pitching is a problem in the postseason or even down the stretch and they miss, it'll create more urgency for them to stabilize this thing. I'm watching Boston closely because of that. I'm also watching the team that we're playing right now to see how the narrative develops over there. They were the last team rumored to still be interested in Mitch Keller. They'll miss seeing him in person by one day. I imagine he starts Friday in Washington. But they're going to miss that. So they're not going to see him. But I'm watching Baltimore closely. I mean, Wells had a pretty good start today, but again, that's against the Pirates. The only damage was a Horwitz homer, and he was good other than that. That was the only hit he gave up. And obviously, Bradish or Bradish was very good, and he's been good other than the Pirates. So there's something to watch there too. And then also how these guys can even hit the guys that you're looking at, because that's going to be a question too. I mean, I remember saying that Colton Cowser was a guy that we might not be able to get. He's hitting 207 with 13 homers this year. So I don't think that that's a guy we can't get. He has a 664 OPS. and Kerstad isn't even there. Mayo's hitting 184. I don't know where you're looking at this team at this point for help. It just doesn't seem like it's there. So it's hard to tell. I'm rambling now. We should get out of here. Have a great day. Hey guys, it's almost Friday. Always feels good for it to be almost Friday. Bucks are back at it tomorrow in a day game. Today in a day game. Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Subscribing to your platform of choice is the best way to be notified for new episodes. And now, new episodes every weekday. Remember, live shows with my dad and Uncle Jake are Sundays at 9 p.m. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and join them in the live chat every Sunday. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2 Buctober. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks.
Yeah, it is a good morning there, little man.